The model of billing by hour of human eyes to scan code is dead. Mythos is the autopsy report. The SLA assumed human-level diligence. Mythos just raised the standard of care overnight. April 7, 2026, Anthropic announced something called Mythos. What it quietly did was make legacy modernization dramatically faster. So if you are on a managed services contract with an Indian IT firm, that contract was written for a different world. And here is what I see and why it matters. Anthropic built for general reasoning and coding, not hacking. Let me give you 3 findings, because what Mythos actually did is more interesting than the headline suggests. Proof 1, OpenBSD, an operating system with a 30-year reputation as essentially unbreakable. Security professionals trust it with critical infrastructure. When something cannot fail, they run it on OpenBSD. Mythos found a 27-year-old flaw in it, a flaw that survived decades of human review and millions of automated tests. Proof number 2, FFmpeg, the software that runs inside almost every device you own. Every time your phone encodes a video or streaming platform sends you a film, FFmpeg is working. Mythos found a 16-year-old flaw in it. In a single line of code that automated testing tools had hit 5 million times and never caught it. Proof number 3, and this one is different. Mythos can take a piece of software, even one where original source code was never released, and reconstruct what it does. It reads the finished program and tells you what the original code probably looked like. No documentations, no architects, no institutional memory. Not everyone agrees in this step change Anthropic claims, though. But my argument does not require Mythos to be perfect. It only requires what it demonstrably did. In an earlier episode, I was building this argument that software factories would eventually read code nobody could understand, that the fog would lift. I was saying that even before Mythos existed. Mythos just proved it. And what catches my attention in this speed, the timeline I was thinking about years, and now it is talked about in quarters. It is a different kind of acceleration. Mythos is still gated. Most of us cannot access it yet. But what it demonstrates is visible to everyone. The old model was simple. The legacy systems, stable technical debt, modernize slowly, pay IT firms to keep the lights on under fixed SLA, assume humans plus basic scanner will eventually catch the bad stuff. And that assumption just collapsed. Glasswing partners, AWS, Microsoft, among them, are already using the capability defensively to strengthen the code bases and accelerate migration that used to take years. Mozilla used it to autonomously find and fix 270 plus vulnerabilities in Firefox before release, not in months before a single release. But here is the thing. I spent nearly 2 decades in this world. Indian IT manages the majority of the world's legacy estates. And when I see this, it doesn't feel like just another technology story. It feels like the contract model is shifting quietly, and most people haven't caught up with it yet. What Mythos made possible, 3 things that were not even viable 60 days ago. First, software factory acceleration. Legacy modernization timelines that used to be measured in years are now being measured in quarters, at least inside the gated access. Second, I see a clear signal for the Indian IT ecosystem to start building a new service layer. Think about what it looks in practice. A firm goes to a client and says, give us 90 days and we will map every vulnerabilities in your legacy estate using Mythos class capabilities. Not a multi-year program. 90 days. Priced on outcomes, not on hours. And that service did not exist 60 days ago. It does now. The firms that build it first is where I think the conversation goes. Third, and this is the one for enterprise side, the question you could not ask to your IT service partner 2 months ago. Can you map your entire legacy estate in 90 days? That question is now legitimate. The answer used to be, yes, but it will take years and cost millions. That answer has changed. Enterprise leaders who ask that right question in their next renewal conversation, that is also the opportunity to demand more, to expect more from the same contract. The pressure to respond now is real. NASSCOM has written to Anthropic asking for access. And the letter is not just a strategy, the gap between what leaders are saying publicly and what market is pricing privately. And that gap is a story. The 5% are already piloting inside the gated access they have. And the rest of us are watching and asking, how fast does this actually scale? If you are finding this breakdown useful, this is exactly what we do every week on the Spark and the Forge. We find signal in the noise of the enterprise tech. If you want to stay ahead of what comes next, hit the subscribe now. Here is a threat. If a breach happens and it later emerges that Mythos class AI could have found the vulnerability later, the boards could be seen as falling short of what regulators now call reasonable security. In Australia, that standard is written into law. It is called APRA CPS 234. But the principle is the same everywhere. You see, if a tool existed that could have found the vulnerabilities, it was not used. That is the gap in the standard of care. And that is the exact language from Gilbert and Tobin legal analysis. For firms running managed services contracts, and I know that world, the exposure is sharper. The SLA assumed human-level diligence. Mythos just raised the standard of care overnight. Insurance is already moving. Berkshire Hathaway, Chubb, and Travelers asked state regulators to exclude AI-related damages from general liability policies this quarter. Regulators approved over 80% of those requests. Enterprise leaders think that they are covered for the next AI-enabled breach. The data says they may not be. Coalition CEO Joshua Motor wrote this in April 2026. And I think this is worth saying it loud. And I quote, "You cannot underwrite cyber risk on annual snapshot anymore," unquote. This is not theoretical. It is happening this quarter. And the window may be shorter than it looks. The capability is gated now roughly to about 40 organizations, but the history tells us, which is restricted today, is available to everyone in next 12 to 18 months, including the wrong people. And that window may already be shorter than I thought. You see, OpenAI launched their own vulnerabilities discovery initiative called Daybreak on May 12, 2026, 6 weeks after Mythos. When the second major player enters the field in 6 weeks, the 12 to 18 months window starts to feel generous. The shift I keep coming back to is this. Legacy systems are no longer stable technical debt. They are suddenly readable at machine speed. And that changes both the risk and the opportunity at the same time. The question, I think, is forming before the next SLA renewal is this. Can your IT services partner show you a Mythos class mapping of your legacy estate? And if not, what does that mean for standard of care in the contract? The firms that are moving on this, and there are not many yet, they're building around three things. Accelerated mapping, that means surface every hidden flaw in weeks, not years. Governance layer, which means outcome-based contract that stand behind what the AI finds, not just what it looks for. An orchestration layer, human validators who govern what the AI touches, because the AI cannot be accountable. A human must be. And that is the framework I keep coming back when I think about this. For enterprise leaders, the SLA renewal you are walking into right now is a different conversation than the one that you had 2 years ago. Standard of care has just moved. For the world I come from, Indian IT, that window I see is 12 to 18 months before this capability goes wide. What happens in that window is what I am watching closely. And here is what I keep thinking about. The fog was real. 30 years of code nobody wrote down. Architects retired, business logic embedded into systems which nobody touched. That complexity was genuine. But somewhere it also became convenient. Convenient for firms charging premium because nobody else would go near it. Convenience for clients could say, oh, we cannot modernize because it is too risky. And convenient for everyone to leave it alone. You see, Mythos did not create that. It just shone a light on it. And when the light comes on, you see two things. The real expertise and that was hiding behind the complexity. So here is the question that I keep coming back to. How much of your margin was fog premium? And how much was genuine expertise? And that answer, whatever it is, determines whether this is your opportunity or your reckoning. That uncomfortable truth that was not being said on earnings call is now being said. Just not that loud enough. They are calling AI deflation. HCL CEO named it directly. TCS called it degrowth. Publicly, it is still framed as opportunity. But the words they are choosing, deflation, degrowth, those are not the opportunity words. Privately, it is the fastest automation pressure this industry has seen. The NASSCOM numbers are already showed it. The words they are using now confirms it. The model of billing by hour of human eyes to scan code is dead. Mythos is the autopsy report. It is accelerating. And we are all still figuring out what that really means for the business model. And when production gets this cheap, when AI can find every flaw at machine speed, the value doesn't disappear. It moves. It moves to whoever can govern outcomes and stand behind what AI delivers. And that is the trust premium. That ecosystem has the domain knowledge. It has the client relationships. The question I keep sitting with is this. Who builds the trust layer on top of what Mythos class capabilities makes that possible? The 5% are already moving, and the rest, I genuinely do not know yet. And right now, we are still trying to make sense of what comes next. If this helps you to think differently, hit like. It helps more people to find this. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead in this conversation. And if you know someone in the IT enterprise tech wrestling with the legacy modernization or SLA renewal, this might be worth sharing with them. I'm Subrata Kar. This is The Spark and the Forge. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.